No, that's fine. No.
Okay. I have a question for Kurt. When do you feel the most creative?
So the easy answer here is first thing in the morning or after work, sitting on the toilet. Because that's the times I have to myself to actually think and talk. So if someone texts me in the middle of the day about an idea, I can't really answer them fully. But if you're the first person to text me about an idea first thing in the morning, I'll have paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs because I'm fresh and I'm ready to go. The other answer I'd have to give is I'm very creative when I'm in a pinch. So back when Irma hit, we lost a lot of, infrastructure and ways to do things. So we had to develop on the spot new ways to teach the course of Science 100. So that was ways for me to be creative as well, because now there's no time to actually come up with a plan. You need to have something ready tomorrow or next week. And that fueled my creativity. So I guess working under pressure makes me creative as well. Because I wrote a lot of research papers and lab reports at 1 a.m. in the library just because it was my time to just push it out and just do it.
Good point and good question. And let me say again, as a facilitator, it's a question that we often ask our participants: when are you most creative? And here's an interesting observation. Very few of them will say, I am most creative when I'm sitting at my desk doing my work. Right?
Right.
But you're being paid a lot of times to be creative and productive in that mode. But that's not where most people find their creative juices flowing. So again, we talk about schools, but we also need to look at creativity in the workplace. And we look at some of the models like Apple, right? And Facebook that actually reward creativity and create environments that foster creativity. And how are they doing on the market? Pretty darn good, except for Facebook recently, but let's not go down that rabbit hole.
We already did that. What about you, Nick? When are you the most creative?
When am I the most creative? In the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. And again, it's the same thing. So I have this really weird sleep pattern. I'm usually in bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock. I think, Kurt, you may know that.
Yep.
And then I'm back up by midnight, 1 o'clock. And I am ready to move mountains. I'm ready to move mountains. And that space is mine. I don't have any distractions. Few people. I had one friend in Singapore, so it's 12 p.m. Two friends in Singapore, 12 p.m. there in the day. So sometimes I had to contact with them, but he just moved to Boston, so that's good. But I'm free to think uninterrupted and to allow my creative juices to flow at that time of the night. So I love the middle of the night just for that.
And I already know I next, so you don't even have to ask.
Yeah, so sorry, what are you waiting on?
I think mine comes in bursts. Oftentimes it comes when I'm asleep. Sometimes I would go to bed thinking about, I need to solve this problem. And then I would be sleeping and I would be somewhere between halfway awake, halfway asleep, and the idea is there. And as soon as I recognize, I get my try and write it down, because I know, dreams, they just fade as the day goes on. Or often, and I'm the kind of person, I usually remember my dreams, at least when I first wake up. But then it just vanished throughout the day. So I write it down quickly. I have an actual example. So example here was, I like to write poetry. I know we're not talking about this type of creativity, but it was implemented here. So my grandma was making however old she made, and I had to write a poem for her birthday. But up until the night before, I hadn't thought of a poem to write for her. I was like, I do not know what to say. I have no idea. I went to sleep. I started dreaming about a poem. I woke up. I wrote the first 4 words, the first 4 lines from the poem that I was dreaming about, and then I just expounded on those based on like the vibe I was feeling from the dream. And I wrote a really good poem off of that. And this is not the first time something like this has happened. It's happened even for solutions for work, where I go to sleep, like I can't figure out how to fix this damn program because I program, right? And I love programming. And I can't figure it out. Go to sleep. Now I dreaming about programming, and next thing you know, I figure it out in my dream. I wake up the next day, I fix it. Oh, it works.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think for me, I guess dreaming and also sporadically, sometimes even just throughout the day, I might just be sitting down watching something and something inspires me. Like maybe I saw artists, like just yesterday actually, I was listening to Willow Smith. She was singing a song, and I was like, hey, I noticed something in her song. She's doing 9-syllable stanzas. 9-syllable lines. Those last 4 lines in a row were all 9 syllables. So that gives me an idea for a poem. I want to write a poem where I do something with 9 syllables. So stuff like that, I get inspiration from things I see, and I get inspiration from my dreams often. And then I just try and do it immediately because I kind of have ADHD a little bit. So I always try to do things before I forget.
Yeah. So let me respond to that, because this is something that I've learned in my work, which I find fascinating. So again, I am not a neurosurgeon, I'm not a neurologist, so I'm going to explain this in terms that we can all understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see your dreams and your creativity in your dreams. Actually, what's happening while we are awake and conscious, we have a part of our brain that is our gatekeeper. And he's a real gruff old man. He's the but man. He's a man that when you start an idea, he will say, but then that's not gonna work, right? And this is part of the brain, and like I said, I don't know all the different names, but this is documented. I read it. Saw it on Oprah. But when we go to sleep, that part of the brain goes to sleep because it's working all day, guarding and keeping and watching and making sure. And it has a function because it protects us from doing stupid things and endangering the life of the body. Mm-hmm. So he plays a very important role. But when you're sleeping in bed, okay, it's kind of a safe, so he can take a break. That is when the other components, left brain, right brain, that he is regulating, can come out and play. Mm-hmm. And make those connections and create stuff. And they apparently manifest themselves, because the brain is still active, manifest themselves in dreams. So sometimes, we dream something that don't make no sense. Yeah. You're living in St. Croix, but you're dreaming that you're back in Dominica or whatever, and the house that is in St. Croix is actually in Dominica. And normally that part of the brain that's sleeping would say, well, that makes no sense. That house can't be there. But when those parts are playing, they make connections that don't make sense. And oftentimes, those connections actually come together into super creative ideas. And that's what's happening in your brain. Nice. And by the time that old gruff gatekeeper wakes up, the idea has already been formed. Nice. And that again is from a really awesome Time magazine did a special on creativity. If you, again, Google Time magazine plus creativity, there's some awesome articles. And that's basically a quick summary of one of the articles, explaining the neurology in simple terms. But it's really an interesting article. Appreciate it.
Thank you.